Eshani, aka Total Makeup Junkie 101, and happy Monday. Welcome back to Holiday Hoopla on my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the new Tarte paint palette collector set. I picked this product up on Ulta.com for $49, but I've also seen it in Ulta stores as well. I don't know if it's available elsewhere, like on Tarte Cosmetics or at Macy's or anything like that, but all of the places that you can purchase this will be linked below as always. So this little guy that I was holding up is the actual box, and then this is what the palette itself looks like. It's got this really abstract, kind of bright printed outer casing, and it's kind of made of this, I don't know, almost like gym clothes material or something. Honestly, I'm not crazy about the material of it. I think it looks kind of dated, but that's just my personal taste. Either way, the actual palette itself does pop open. You get a really large mirror up here, and then you are getting 24 eyeshadows here on the top layer, and then this little side drawer kind of pops out. You get a little brush. You get a deluxe size of the Tarte Glossy Lip Paint, as well as a deluxe size mascara, and then another mini palette. The mini palette does pop completely out of the full casing, and then this is what it looks like. You do get a highlighter, a blush, and a bronzer. And everything else in this drawer is just kind of held in by this little piece of plastic. So you can see you can completely pull it out and actually use this drawer if you wanted to throw in more makeup brushes or your mascara or eyeliner or whatever you want to throw in here. So let's go ahead and start off this review by talking about the little extras you get. First up, you get this little short-handled eyeshadow brush, and it's kind of like a synthetic, semi-fluffy, almost like a crease or like a blender brush. You also get this mini tube of the new Tarte Paint mascara, and I like this too. I think it looks really nice. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't used the mascara yet, so I can't give my opinion on it. You're also getting one of the Tarte Glossy Lip Paints in the shade Double Tap, and these are basically like a very opaque pigmented lip gloss. I found that it wears very similarly to a lip gloss does on my lips, but it is so opaque, so the color definitely hangs around. And this is like a very true traditional neutral nude. Now jumping into this little face palette that you're getting with the 3 different face products. You can probably tell just by the imprinting on these various products, these are in that Amazonian clay formula. So here are swatches of the 3 products you get in the little face palette. From left to right, we have the highlight, the blush, and then the bronzer or contour. The highlighter shade is fairly chunky, so that would be best applied either with your fingers or a really stiff highlighter brush. The blush is really nice, and the contour is pretty warm tone, so I would say it probably would work better as a bronzer on most skin tones. I found that the highlighter and the blush do work on my skin tone, but this kind of contour shade is pretty much my exact skin color, so I can't really use that. I do think this little palette is cute. I think it's really adorable how it looks like a little artist palette, but I would say it's honestly just a little bonus because the thing that we're really paying for are the shadows. As I said earlier, you are getting 24 different eyeshadow colors in this palette. Now, before we discuss the texture and the pigmentation and the overall quality of these shadows, let's go ahead and do swatches of this entire palette. So this is the top row of the palette. From left to right, we have Reflection, On Display, Muse, Canvas, Set the Tone, and Have We Met. Here we have the second row in the palette. From left to right, we have Take It Easel, Renaissance Woman, Abstract, To the Pointillism, Gilded Gallery, and Stencil. This is the third row in the palette. First off, we have Roy G. Biv, Metallic Masterpiece, Be an Original, Barrette, Sepia, and Kaleidoscope. And here's the final row in the palette. From left to right, we have Go for Baroque, Contrast, Make the Gradient, Doodle, Landscape, and Gothic. So as you guys could probably tell by the swatches, these all swatch out fairly decently. There are definitely some textures in here that are drier than others, but overall, I think the quality on the whole is decent. I will say I'm more impressed with this palette than I have been with any Tarte holiday palette, any of these big Tarte holiday palettes in quite a few years. There are a couple of different textures I can tell in this palette. We have some that are matte. We have some that are a matte base with kind of a chunky glitter flake in it. And then we have some that are super, super foiled or metallic. As for the matte finishes, they are fairly powdery to use, but they do have good pigmentation. Some of them are creamier than others. I found that the darker matte finishes are definitely a little bit drier. The lighter shades that are in a matte finish tend to be a little bit more smooth, but they also kick up a lot more powder. Overall, I do feel like the mattes are fairly decent in this palette. I've had no problems with getting any of them to blend or build or perform well on my eyes. In terms of the kind of matte base with the kind of gold chunky glitter put in it, there are a couple of those shades that I can point out here, and I will say I don't really like those. Those are definitely a lot drier. That gold kind of chunky glitter that's in it does not stick around, so really it just makes it kick up a lot of powder. Honestly, anytime I reach for this palette, I kind of go out of my way to avoid using those colors just because they're a little bit, they're more work than they're worth in my opinion. Then for the very kind of metallic foiled shadows, and there are a couple of those in this palette that I'm pointing out, and I love those. I've used them both with my fingers as well as stiff brushes, and I do feel like they perform excellent both ways. I do have this color in Abstract packed on my lids today, and I do think it gives a really beautiful metallic pop. I definitely think those metallic foils are the standouts in this palette overall. Now to discuss the actual color selection that you're getting. Now the thing I really liked about this palette is if you look down the various columns vertically, you can see that they're almost set aside as different eyeshadow quads. I like that Tarte set it up like that, particularly for anyone who's an eyeshadow beginner and you're not quite sure which colors to pair with each other. I like how they're almost kind of pre-done for you. Obviously, you don't have to use them like that, and I have never used them like that, but it's nice that that is an option. Now, as far as my biggest gripes with this palette is that if you have been a fan of Tarte for a while, or you have pretty much any other Tarte eyeshadow palette that they have released in the past 4 years, you probably have all of these colors already. If you're a big makeup collector like I am, or you at the very least follow makeup collections fairly regularly, which you probably do if you're on my channel, I can almost guarantee that you have every single one of these colors somewhere in your collection. And while yes, all of these colors are available in other makeup lines and other makeup palettes from other brands, all of these colors are also available within Tarte's existing line. I've been waiting for Tarte to release something unique for what feels like forever now, and I haven't seen it. And I guess that rant goes a little bit even beyond this particular palette, because it's nothing against this palette in particular, but it's most Tarte eyeshadow palette releases all look the same. And I do feel like for Tarte being such a well-known, such a big brand, I do think many of their products are very high quality. I have absolutely nothing against Tarte as a brand. I would love to see Tarte release something unique. I do think there is a time and a place for staying in your comfort zone. I think when you're releasing limited edition products that you know won't be around in your line for very long, why not do something unique? Obviously, I don't work for Tarte, nor do I have any affiliation to Tarte as a brand, so they've probably done their research and they know who their customer base is, and maybe their customer base does like colors like this, so they just keep re-releasing them and re-releasing them. But as for someone who is a makeup lover and who is always looking for something different and new on the market, this ain't it. Okay, let's do a little bit of a breakdown now. My price breakdown that I always include at the end of every video. So this palette does retail for $49. I'm just going to break down the value according to the powder products you get. So that includes the 24 shadows as well as the 3 face products. In each of these eyeshadow pans, you are getting 1 gram of product. Multiply that by 24 means you are getting 24 grams of shadow total. And then in each one of these face powders, you are getting 2.4 grams. Multiply that by 3, meaning you are getting 7.2 grams of product total. 24 grams of product plus the 7.2 grams of product means you are getting 31.2 grams of product between these two. And then if you divide that by the $49 price tag, means you are paying $1.57 per gram of powder product in this set. I think that is an excellent price per gram. I think you are getting tons and tons and tons of product for the price you're paying. And I have heard, because I don't know this for sure, I can't state this as fact, but I have heard that this set is the best quality value set that Tarte has released this year. As always, Tarte products are formulated without parabens, mineral oil, phthalates, triclosan, sodium lauryl sulfate, gluten, and it is dermatologist tested. But I did want to note that this palette is made in China. If that bothers you, that might be something you want to take into account before purchasing it. If you don't care, you do you. So that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on the new Tarte Holiday Paint Palette Collector Set. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to check out my Holiday Hoopla playlist, which is linked down below. I have tons of holiday reviews with lots of other goodies. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in my next video on Thursday. I will see you then. Bye! This one is the Stone Cold Babe gift set, and the other one is the Frozen Assets. Getting 4 pans of highlighter, and this is the same formula as the permanent Laura Mercier